What's up, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast with me, Trevor, and Josh. And Kyle's on his way out of town, out of the country, actually. So you got us for the next 2 weeks, and then I go out of town, and I think it's just Josh and Kyle after that. So we'll see how this turns out. But what's up,
You're
man?
all bailing on me.
I know, dude. But listen, man. In all fairness, you're on your way out of the country in August, right?
That's true. That's very
We're
true.
all taking our turns. So
hmm Yeah, we got thinking
only
about it. I go to Montana this month. We go to Vegas next month. We go to England the next month. September, I think, is the only month we don't do anything, and then I go to California in October. And yeah, I think about it like that. I'm like, I need to stop spending money.
what are you doing in Montana?
I got to take a referee test for powerlifting.
Oh, okay.
So, like that way, I can be a judge. Um, doesn't like it literally pays nothing and you don't make any money. Nothing. It's literally just for volunteer stuff. So, but
Nice. So you
I think it'll
spend
be
a
cool.
bunch to go and get qualified to not make anything.
More or less. I kind of I'm pumped that it's up Montana. It's a long drive. It's in Billings. It's like 8.5 hours.
Oh man,
But
yeah.
it'll be nice just to get away. We found a little cabin rental that we could get up there for pretty cheap, and the wife's coming up with me, so we're just gonna go up there for the weekend. Because I've only
Dude,
got to
that's
judge
cool.
one day, and
Okay.
then I think we're gonna drive through Yellowstone on the way home.
I mean, Billings is cool, man. If you want to spend some time just like wandering, why not Wyoming, Montana. Montana's beautiful.
hmm Yeah, I don't
You
think
should just
she's
spend
never
time
been to
there.
Montana. I think
Really?
she's been to West. I think she's been to West Yellowstone once,
Okay.
and that was with us. That was I don't know, almost 10 years ago. So,
Yeah, dude.
but
Yellowstone's fun, man. Like my parents are actually up in Yellowstone this week. I should be up there, but I'm on my way out to Boston next week. And so
mhm.
just too much going on to make it up that way. But I do Yellowstone about every other year. And so my parents are there right now and they said it's beautiful currently. But
Really,
dude, there's so much to do. Like if you want to like avoid the tourist, like just look up a few things. There's like Hebkin Lake up there. There's like beautiful like hikes and stuff. You don't have to do Yellowstone to see awesome stuff.
well, I'm thinking more on time.
Yeah.
So what it'll be? So I'll leave on a Friday at noon here,
Okay.
drive there. So I'll get there at
Okay.
like 9. So it's not going to really be anything to do except for just kind of sleep. Then Saturday I got to be at the event till it's done. I hope it gets done about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And
Okay.
so we'll have like kind of an afternoon. And then that next morning, I go back to the event and help one of the guys that I lift with kind of get through some of his stuff. So I might be able to get out of there at about noon. But if I get there
Yeah.
out at noon, then I'm kind of like, well, maybe we just drive through Yellowstone. But yeah, we've looked at some stuff. I know they've got some petroglyphs and some hikes and some monuments and stuff that look really cool. So
Yeah,
plans
dude.
might change. That was just kind of a thought.
Tons of cool stuff there. And I mean, you're a big fisherman. It's too bad you don't have another day. There's so much good fishing up there.
Well,
It's
if
awesome.
the meat sucks, and I'm like, screw this, I'm not getting paid either way. I'm just gonna go.
Dude, figure it out, man. Like I used to when I was little, I had an annual like guys trip with my dad
hmm
and my grandpa and like all my it was my mom's side, but it was like all the men on my mom's side. And
hmm
we did Hebkin forever and then we transitioned it up to Fish Lake here in Utah, but Hebkin tons of fun fishing that. There's all the rivers and stuff and dude, it's a good time up there.
Yeah, I always went to Hoback with my grandpa. It's
Okay.
about 30 miles outside of Jackson on the backside of the Tetons,
Okay, yeah.
and it never was. It would never get fished. You'd never run into anybody. And I went up there a couple years ago.
Uh-huh.
Nobody there, just me.
Really?
Yeah, just
That's
yeah,
cool.
which is a little kind of eerie because you're up in the Tetons by yourself, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't run into any fishermen, nothing.
That's crazy. You
So
don't find those places anymore. Everywhere's
it's
just so overcrowded.
yeah, it's it's really like a spot where you'd have to know somebody that knows somebody that's been going there for years. And that's my grandpa got property back in there years ago. Which we haven't gotten that, but we haven't been to that property in years. But uh, yeah, he just he had one of those old maps, and so he could find all the like tributaries to like the bigger rivers and stuff, and
Yeah,
that's what we would fish. And yeah, it's like I say, it's like through like a I don't want to give too much away, but it's like basically off a main road, up a dirt road, and it's like way back there, probably 20 miles.
dude, so
So
cool. Does he
and
still have the
yeah,
property?
he does, but dude, it's so stupid what's been going on up that way. Why we don't go up there? So his property is basically surrounded by like four other properties,
Okay,
and they more or less have boxed him in,
okay,
right? Um, so when he passed away, my aunt took over the property, and they basically took over the road that was being used to go down there. Somebody had taken it over and like cut off the road and turned it to go to their property. And
okay.
so I guess she went up there a few years ago and was like, I'd really like to get on my property. And I said, well, you've got to build your own road. You're not allowed on my road. And if I catch you on my road, I will get you for trespassing. And
Mm,
so, yeah, so she has property, but it's surrounded by all these other properties that have basically cut her off from being able to get to it. So she's going to be
mm.
forced to just sell it to one of them because she can't do anything with it. And it's going to be the property taxes that are going to eventually get her.
Is there access somewhere? Because I mean, at least in the state of Utah, you can't do that. You can't landlock a property. There has to be access on a road. So if you cut off a road, you by law have to provide that access still to the person. I don't know if that's a thing up there, but
Yeah. I don't know.
something
I
to look
think it was
into.
somewhere like the road is technically crosses on this guy's property, but like the property belonged to somebody else, so that road was existing forever.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, that's his property, so he took the road back and turned the road to go to his.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole
Interesting.
thing.
Because
Yeah,
we have the same thing with our cabin up in Cedar City or whatever. We have two competing interests like right on our road line, and they've been at it for years, kind of thing. But by law, the one guy who's trying to cause all sorts of problems can't really do anything because it is an access road to our cabin and other cabins.
yeah.
So he has
I
to
think
leave access.
I think if and it's something my grandpa never got put in there. I think if she had an established well, that would
Mm,
make him leave it. But there's no well, so there's like it's just a piece of land. So really, for her to do that, yeah, she would have to just barrel down like a whole new road to get down there, which she can, but you know, no one's
not
got
going to
the
pay for
money to
that,
be able to
right?
do that. Yeah,
Well, that was a long conversation about land loss. So again, you learned
landlocked.
something new on the Pit Therapy podcast. So here we go. But no, that's way dope. And then you said California in October. Are you guys doing Disney or what are you doing in October?
We'll be in Disneyland on Halloween day,
Nice. Dude,
and then
so
we'll be
fun.
there the day after.
Yeah.
So that's a quick trip. We're gonna drive down on a Wednesday, and we'll drive back on a Saturday.
Nice. So there's a transition period where if you catch it right, you can get the transition from Halloween to Christmas overnight. And
Yeah.
so we did that a couple years ago. We went and we caught the tail end of the Halloween. We stayed there and then we caught the first day of the Christmas decorations
Hmm.
kind of thing. So that was pretty fun. It's a
Cool.
good time of year. So,
Yeah, we're kind of well. I don't know if my wife knows about it yet, but I don't know if you've seen they've shut down the haunted mansion. They're like redoing the outside of it.
oh, interesting.
Have you seen that?
Uh-uh.
Like the line there was always really bad.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're redoing so that there's more access for the line.
I mean,
But I
what they
think the whole
need to
ride
do
is
is
shut down.
they need to take out that little uh, food court area and they could
Yeah,
just wrap that's where the line goes anyways. They just need to add a couple rails in there to get the line funneling through that area. It shouldn't be
yeah. I
too
mean,
difficult, but
Yeah, I would imagine it'll be something like Pirates of the Caribbean, how that's all funneled.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
I would
well,
imagine. I
that's
mean, that's a big hit for Halloween time. So I would assume it's
yeah,
going to be by the time we go. So I don't know.
yeah,
Either way, we're going. If anything, I get to just hang out and chase kids and eat churros. So
dude. It's a good time, good
I'm all
freaking
about it.
time. So no, that's awesome, man. Well, dude, I didn't see a ton of new music this week. Did you really listen to anything new?
Not really. I checked out this band that came up on my Spotify, not Spotify, Apple Music. Uh, if I still have it, man. Hold on, I'm in my wrong thing. Not any new music. So this band's been out for a while. They're
Okay,
called Nights Like These. Have you ever
like
listened to
nights like
them?
the nighttime,
Yeah, Nights Like These.
not like medieval night.
So this is a record that came out in 2006. It came up on a on a random, like I say, on a random playlist. And there's a song on there called "Scavenger's Daughter." It's way good.
Okay,
Like, kind of reminds me of not like Misery Signals, but kind of, but just
okay.
like heavy. I don't know, heavy hardcore, but a little more emotion behind it. And then,
Still on mute, bro.
oh no, I'm not good at this mute button.
You're
I
good.
started listening to a band called Thornhill.
I've
Have you
heard
ever heard of them?
Thornhill. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was another song that came on their record, "The Dark Pool."
Okay.
It's the last song. They're called "Where We Go When We Die." That song's way good. That's like, to me, it reminded me if you took Under Oath, but then put Anthony Green as a vocalist.
Oh, really? Nice.
That's what it reminds me of. I think that's way good. Uh, this is kind of older. Tiger Jaw came out with a single back in 2023.
Okay.
Somehow I missed it, so I went and listened to that today, and it's very good.
Nice.
End of 2023, I should say. It came out in October. Um, did you get into Tiger Jaw much at all?
That was a band that very minimal. Like I did listen to them and stuff, but not a ton. So I don't know.
What What's wild to me with them is for the longest time. So like, they have like their self title with the pizza on the
Yeah.
record. That's the first record I started listening to, and like people either really loved it or they said it was terrible. Just like the vocals are terrible, and I'm like, he's not like a really good vocalist. I'll admit that. Like it's not all the way in tune, but I kind of like that it's not for whatever reason with them.
I mean, there's bands like that. I think that the genre that is the epitome of that is Midwest emo. None of those
Right,
guys are like good vocalists. You know what I mean?
right. But
So
even Title Fight was more in tune than these guys, right?
sure. Yep.
It just, yeah, I don't know. It's just maybe it's just the type of style of music it was. You don't expect that, but I saw those guys in 2013, I think,
Yeah.
at, maybe it was a little later. I think it was 2013 at Kilby Court. And
That's
that
dope.
was wild. They
Yeah.
came with a weird lineup, but I remember them playing and it was way good. So,
Weren't they with heavy bands?
no,
Did
it
you
was like,
did
I'd honestly have to look up the tour. I can't remember. I remember I did not watch any band except Tiger's Jaw. I
Oh
do know
really?
that. Yeah, I remember.
Okay.
I don't know. There was a few weird tours came through. I remember Confide played there once, and at Kilby Court, and we went to see them. And I think Sleeping with Sirens played, but I think Blackville Brides played with them too. It was super
Ooh,
weird.
that's rough.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're watching
That's rough.
Motley Crue walk on the stage, and I'm like, we at the right show?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what I've been listening to. Nothing. nothing new though. It's kind of weird. Kind of a dead week for new music.
It was. The one thing that did come out was A Day to Remember.
I
Bro.
wasn't even gonna bring that up. Okay,
Oh my gosh. Did you
all right.
listen?
I did. I did actually on Sunday. I listened to it with Cheyenne. I I like it for what it is, but it's terrible compared to everything else they've ever written. I wouldn't say it's butt rock though,
I feel like it's the definition of butt rock.
because butt rock to me is Nickelback.
This is bordering Nickelback style.
Yeah, to me this was just like a mainstream pop punk band, pop punk stuff is what I got. What I got out of it.
Oh, it's not
I
pop
didn't.
punk.
I
It's
didn't feel.
like it's mainstream like rock. It's on the verge of honestly getting to what New Parkway Drive is. Like it's just like a heavy a heavy rock song.
Yeah, like I would go with rock. I don't know if I could like because butt rock to me, I'm thinking like Chevelle,
Yeah,
like
no, I know what you're saying.
Shinedown, Caesar. That to me, but that's my definition of butt rock. To me, this is
It's
like
getting
something you would.
it gets
Sorry,
close to that though, man. Like if you listen to it, it gets close, especially when you start to get towards the chorus and stuff. Now they do throw the breakdown in there. They just bro, it's just not good. It's not good at all. And I have such low expectations for any new music from these guys now after this.
mm-hmm.
It's it's gonna be rough.
Well, and here's so the verses I wasn't way into and like the intro, but I actually really like the chorus.
Okay. Yeah.
Chorus reminds me of like poppier. I think that's where I was getting it. So I wasn't paying attention to the verses too
Okay.
much. I kind of tuned that out because I do agree with that. Where I'm like, not that great. But like the chorus, pretty catchy. The melodies are catchy. Like, but it's not a day to remember either though.
Listen, man, like I'm right there with you. Honestly, the chorus is if you listen to this, it's gonna get stuck in your head. Like it's gonna get stuck in your head all day long. If you're listening to Sirius XM Octane Radio and they're playing this every third song, you're gonna know the chorus in a matter of like a day.
It's
But
it's it's wild to think of this band like this now. Like, especially when probably the best memories of them were watching them at Warp Tour.
I know, I know,
Like going from like one of the opening acts on a small stage to being one of the big headlining ending. I think I can't remember what year it was. I think it was 2009 where they played very last
probably it's one of
on
those
that
years.
huge stage, like the Ernie Ball stage or something like that.
I think it was. It was one of those years for sure.
I
But
remember it was in the corner and it was in the grass, and
yeah.
they played after Alexis on Fire. I remember that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, I remember I had a.
2009, that's Homesick. This is when they like exploded, right?
Mhm.
So probably makes sense.
Yeah, they. I think the first time I got to see them was when they just had the first record out, and they came with the Devil Wears Prada at the Avalon, and they were the opening band.
Dude, that show, that was so fun. Like I remember being there. I remember being there for the Devil Wears Prada, but we were listening to a lot of Day to Remember at that point in time
Hmm.
because their first album, For Those Who Have Heart, I was actually just watching something on TikTok where a guy was going through and ranking their albums again because of the new song. And he had this album as like number three of like the
Hmm.
top albums for him, which I think it's number two. I think Homesick, then For Those Who Have Heart. I wasn't as big a fan as Common Courtesy as the majority of people are, kind of thing. But this album, and he said this, is the epitome of easycore. It was
Hmm.
like the start of it. It's the epitome of it. They did easycore so good with this. After this album, most easycore like went way downhill.
It
Right?
just
There
was
wasn't a ton, but
easy. It just was too cheesy for anybody else to do it, and I don't know why. Even though they have
yeah,
one of the cheesiest parts in Homesick, the
Did the acapella breakdown? Heck
Yeah.
yeah, man. It's not cheesy, bro. That's iconic, man.
Well, it's
Everyone
funny.
knows that.
You know they were doing it as a joke, right? Like this would be way funny. I'm sure they were laughing hysterically when they recorded it, but everyone caught on to it. So when they play it live, the entire crowd does it. And it's like, how did something so stupid like catch on?
The
So,
funny thing is, I've had this conversation with my cousins who don't listen to music, right? Well,
mhm.
I mean, they listen to music, but not like what we do. And
So
I
like
was
it's
like,
not music.
I mean, they turn it on in the background kind of thing. Like they'll listen to this stuff. They have no problem listening to this stuff. But like we know the bands and everything like that. They don't get into all of that kind of stuff. But my one cousin plays drums. And um I was like, is there another drum pattern? There's very few recognizable drum patterns for songs
Hmm.
like that you can do with your voice. Like the ones that I could think of, I just did that da 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 da, and every immediately he's like, yeah, data remember, right? The other
Hmm.
one's like Alexis on Fire. That is a very recognizable drum pattern at the very beginning, right?
Yep.
There's not a lot of them though, so to be able
No.
to do that, incredible.
Yep. I liked the way As I Lay Dying's first record sounded. Like as any song off that record, I'd be like, oh, that's As I Lay Dying. Just the way that the drums sounded.
Yeah, dude, I was thinking about this today because I was watching old Warped Tour sets because we're talking about Warped Tour today. If you guys didn't catch that from the name, right? We're talking about Warped Tour and festivals and just, these big grand productions that are happening these days. But is As I Lay Dying, like, could they be considered like one of the top three greatest metalcore bands of all time had their singer not tried to kill his wife?
I mean, they were definitely there. Anything they had released was way good. Like,
It's insane. Words Collapse, Shadows Are Security, and Ocean Between Us. Those three albums are insane.
yep.
And then he has to go and try to kill his wife, man. Like, what the
Yep.
heck? It's so disappointing to me because my whole point about this was I was watching the old 2008, I think it was, when they were on Warp Tour. I was watching
Hmm.
those Salt Lake sets, and they, like, their guitarist, that band, the entire band was so good. And the fact that now it's down to Tim and four new people who he's hired, like, it's just not the same. Like
Right.
not having Nick Hippa up there or however you say his name on guitar, it's not the same. It's
Yeah.
a huge bummer, but
I mean,
hey.
there's lots of bands that do that now too. I mean, Muir's another one. You know.
Oh, I know, but
Yeah.
I
Muir.
don't care for Amir the same way I care about like, and let me phrase this: the albums very specifically, not the people, right?
Yeah.
Tim can go and eat a bag, right? But dude, such good albums.
Yeah. It's weird like that bands do that. Like I use Amir too just because Amir was like a I don't know, one of like a band that attracted hardcore kids but was like super just beat down heavy almost,
Yeah,
And seeing them in 2007, 2008, you know, versus the last time I seen them they were everything was being played out of a computer and it was just Frankie up there just doing weird stuff.
yeah.
It just like wasn't the same. So,
It's such a bummer too because Joshua Travis, their guitar player, is so good.
mhm,
He's so talented. He was in Glass Cloud. I think he did a stint in Tony Danza, and now he's just up there and he's just chugging with computers digitally. Like it's a
yeah.
tristy.
It's
Like
weird.
he's so good.
I mean, it sounds really good. Like it's just I don't know. It's just not the same to me. It's like this wasn't the band that I remember
I
because the
know.
band I remember was like they're probably not going to make it through the set because there's going to be a huge brawl before that happens, And now it's like just seems like a huge dance party for uh like like off time ravers or something like that. That's what it reminds me of. It's just
Sure.
a little too weird. But
I Where did you end with Amir? I got to Speaker of the Dead. That's where I ended with Amir.
I
After that, I
stopped.
was like, all right, I'm
I
done.
stopped. I stopped listening after the first record.
Goodbye to the Gallows? No, you
Yeah,
listened to the Respect issue with us.
I didn't. Which one? What album does that look like?
It has the boxer on the front.
Uh. Then there's another one with a speaker.
That's
I think.
Speaker of the Dead. So it goes Goodbye to the Gallows. That's the one that has like the greenish blue uh, ghost looking thing. Then it goes to Respect issue with the boxer. Then Felony. Then Speaker of the Dead. I
Yep.
didn't really listen to a ton of Felony. I listened to it a little bit, but I did listen to Speaker of the Dead. That one had some solid songs on there.
Yeah, I never listened to Speaker of the Dead. I remember the album Felony came out. I remember one of the kids that we hung out with was talking about it, and he turned it on, and I couldn't do it. I may have listened to some of the on that record you're talking about right after, but that's really the only record I listened to of that band is going back to
Goodbye
the
to the Gallows.
Goodbye to the Gallows. Yeah,
Yeah. Dude, I loved the Respect issue. The Respect issue had that song Chicago's Finest. And dude, that song is just incredible.
hmm
So I really like that one. That's actually probably my favorite Amir album, the Respect
yeah.
issue. So,
Did
but
they
I'm
did they
not
ever,
a huge
did
Amir
they
fan.
never played any Warped Tours here? Did they? I don't
I
remember.
don't think so. No, I saw Amir. I only saw Amir the one time I think at Avalon that crap went down. So, you
Yeah.
know. But
Um.
anyways.
Well, yeah, that's wild, dude. It's insane to think the lengths that I would have gone to go to Warped Tour. Versus now, where I have to like convince myself that I need to go to work because I have bills to pay. Like, I don't know what lengths you went to, but like I went as far as like I'd be up at 5 a.m. I'd be down there in Rose Park, at 5:30, and I would be sitting in line until 10:30, 11 o'clock, like 10 o'clock maybe. And I remember that line just wrapping all the way around and going all through the neighborhoods. I remember there was one year where I was on my way home from scout camp. I went and hiked the Narrows. My
Yeah.
feet were completely blistered, and somehow I convinced the like leaders to drop me off, and then I had borrowed money from one of the kids I went with so I could get a ticket to get in. They just dropped me off in the middle of South Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Where I see you, and then I had to like find my way home. I was only like 17 at the time, but um, there's one year I made fake Warp Tour badges. I don't know if I ever told you
I
about that,
Yep, you've told that story a couple times. Yep.
but yeah, man, like that was one thing I think everyone always looked forward to every year, and it was always in the summer. It was all somehow it always landed on a weekend. I don't know how we always nailed that. It's always seemed like it landed on a weekend. Um, but man, I I don't know, like kids that are like 15 years old, or maybe even in their early 20s, they just it's a good possibility they missed out, and they missed out going because the last Warped Tour that came through here was at USANA in the parking lot and it was terrible. But
Yeah.
like being able to go down to the Utah State Fairgrounds and like see it there, if you missed out on that era, like that's a huge bummer because I know like festivals now, are pretty close, but like it just because as many festivals as I've been to, like they're all awesome, but it's not Warped Tour.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what was the first Warp Tour you went to?
2006
Okay. I
was
think
the
that was
first
mine
one.
too. I can't remember my first Warp Tour very much because I know that I got there and I was only there for a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember why. I just remember like I got there, we went, we saw a couple bands. I don't think I really knew what was going on. I think I had just like bought a ticket because we had started going to shows and I didn't I didn't grasp what Warped Tour fully was at the
Right.
time.
So I had been to like shows prior. I just had never been to Warped Tour. So 2006, I would have just been 16, so I would have been able to drive down there because that was like the big thing, right?
Yeah,
My parents were not going to drive me down there in any way, shape, or form, and like they were always like worried like something's going to happen. So like when I was finally 16, I'm like, hey, I've got a car, I could drive, and I can go on my own. They're like, there wasn't much they could say past that point. So yeah, I went. I was 16 years old. I I can't remember who I went with, or if I met
okay,
with people there. I don't really remember. Um, but yeah, that was my first Warped Tour. Going like kind of listening to people like standing in this huge line, like, oh, we've got to know who's playing. I'm like, well, we should know what the lineup is. They're like, no, there's a huge banner, and everyone
right,
runs to it, and you got to run to the stage. And so I'm like, okay, and you got to think like this is back like not everyone has like an iPhone. Like
right,
I think I had like a Nokia brick phone. So looking stuff up on the internet stuff just wasn't a thing. So, you're sitting there just tapping your foot. So you finally barrel in and yeah, everyone's running over the top of each other and stuff to like run to the stage. And I remember there wasn't any bands that I recognized playing right at the very beginning, but I recognized the name Day Two.
yeah,
So I ran over to watch Day Two, and I had heard that name just through in passing in high school.
yeah.
And, that was the first band that I watched at Warped Tour.
Sick. That's a cool memory. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
even like I said, I'm pretty sure I was so overwhelmed and just like didn't even understand the grasp of it that I just went in and like I said, I watched a couple of bands and then I don't remember if I was just with some people and we left. I don't even remember the situation. I know I was there in 2006 because I got a free ticket. It was one of our buddies' cousin had an extra ticket and he was just like, "Hey,
Mhm.
you want to go like see what this is?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So that's why I went. But then after that, like I don't really remember anything past that besides I want to go to more shows and I'm excited for next year.
Right.
Like that's what I remembered. So,
And I just remember seeing because it's funny to talk about it now, but it's like you get a lot of people that like dress up for it, right?
yeah.
Not like cosplay or anything, but like you see some people wearing some wild outfits, some wild makeup, just doing their own thing, and it was a huge gathering of basically like uh, misfitted people. It wasn't like watching Woodstock '99 or something like that. Like majority of people were like a lot of the kids that like didn't really fit into the norm at school. So like you'd show up and you'd see a bunch of people from school that like were kind of like the outcasts. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, but yeah, like and the show always went on. Like I don't think we ever got rained out that I remember. There may have been one year where it
No.
rained. I can't remember, but I do
Yeah.
remember the hottest set ever watching. It was like 105, I think, and I was watching Armor for Sleep, and there I am standing in tight black pants with a tight underoath shirt on, and I'm pretty sure I had long black hair at the time. Pretty sure.
Would this have been 2006?
2006. Yep.
Okay. So I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure
So
that
I
was the only time I saw Armor for Sleep. So I was in the crowd with you, but we didn't know each
yeah.
other then.
So I've seen or not seen. I've been to Warped Tour as a scene kid, as a hardcore kid, as a long haired kid, and then just as an old dad.
Nice.
the
Nice.
the many ages of Warped Tour.
Dude, I'm looking at the
Um,
lineup for 2006 right now. So headliners, NoFX, Rise Against, Anti-Flag, Thursday, Motion City Soundtrack, Under Oath Saves the Day. Those are like the top
mhm.
bands that were on this lineup. So
So
yeah.
Under Oath did or not Under Oath. Thursday did a garbage rainbow. So
Okay.
they had everyone split like the wall of death,
Yeah.
and everyone just picked up garbage and they were just throwing it. And there was so
Gross.
much garbage, it literally was just a full. They call it a garbage rainbow, is what they were calling it. But yeah, I remember watching them. I was front row. That was the only time I've ever been front row for something I'll never do it again. Was Under Oath, and I was soaking wet, just sweat.
Oh, nasty.
Yeah. But like I say, that day, it got hot. It was over 100,
Yeah.
and like you've the line for waters was insane, and then to buy water was even more insane. And like I'm 16, so I don't have a debit card, no credit card, no nothing. All I have is cash,
Right.
and like it's hard to carry that much cash when you go somewhere like that. So you get pickpocketed, then you're done.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah. But I
Yeah.
remember that was my first year too, finally seeing like booths full of clothing. I'm still kind of like this, but I like buying clothes that I know nobody else has because I hate showing up
Okay.
somewhere and someone else wearing the same shirt. It drives me nuts. I'll throw away my clothes. I don't know why, but uh, I liked seeing all these clothing booths of clothing lines that like I know nobody had, and so like I would specifically like bring extra money to buy shirts from clothing lines to be like, I don't know, be different or whatever. Whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just like having shirts nobody else had. I was
Yeah.
greedy.
I gotcha.
I'm a gatekeeper.
So 2007, next year, this is the year that like I remember walking in and knowing what it was and what to do and where to go kind of thing. So we started off and we got in there and immediately I don't remember if they were the first or the second band, but I remember watching the Human Abstract and I remember
Hmm.
watching Bless the Fall. They were back to back. There was the two stages right by each other, and
Hmm.
I think Bless the Fall was first, and then the Human Abstract. And I remember that, and like it was fun because it was like the pit literally just shifted across the stages. It's just like everyone stayed there. Everyone who was
Hmm.
there was hanging out for those bands. It was a ton of fun. But this is the year that had again Under Oath and a couple of the mainstays, but Newfound Glory was on this one. I remember watching them. Funeral for a Friend. I had never
Hmm.
seen them because they're a UK band, right? But I
Yep.
remember Gallows. Do you remember watching Gallows in 2007?
I never saw Gallows in 2007. I saw him in 2009.
Oh, maybe it was 2009. Maybe I'm confusing it. Was the 2009 the year that they had the circle pit around the like little
Hmm.
building?
And they
Okay,
played
that
on the
was
ground.
2009. Yeah,
Yep.
okay, that was 2009. I just yeah, this is the year that I remember like going in and seeing everything. This was the heyday of like the MySpace bands, right? So I remember watching Bless the Fall. I remember watching the Human Abstract. Um, I think A Stack Lullaby was there, Funeral for a Friend. But then like the heavy bands that we went to, we went watched Parkway Drive, man. And they like I remember that pit, specifically Romance is Dead. It was insane. This was the same stage that the Human Abstract had played on, and the
Hmm.
pit for Parkway extended to the other stage that was right next to it.
Yep.
It was insane and madness. It was awesome. But do you like recall anything specific about this one?
Man, so in 2007, this was the year that I showed up late because I was on my way home from uh, Zion's.
Okay.
I've been rappelling and hiking all weekend. So yeah, I convinced my scout leader to drop me off in South Salt Lake. He's like, as long as you get permission from your mom, we can do that. So like, I was on the phone with my mom, called her. She said it was fine. Borrowed money from one of the scouts, and I got in, got my ticket, and I was like, just like, see ya. And I had missed some of the first bands, which I was bummed about. But right when I got in, I remember doing the same thing, same routine. So like last year, I went as like a scene kid. This year, I'm like not in like a scout uniform or anything like that, but like I'm in
Yeah.
just like hand me down like shorts and an old T-shirt, with no
Sure.
money. And I'm like, well, this is what it is. So I remember running to the 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 schedule or whatever, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be able to catch Haste today. So I ran over and like I got there right as they started playing Haste Today did, and I just remember that being just a fight fest.
Dude,
You know, like
so good.
I saw so many of my friends just like fighting in all different directions, and I'm like, oh man, like this would be wild. So, and then Parkway Drive was, a new band at that point. They had never played the States, I don't think, yet, or at least in
I don't
Utah.
remember.
Um,
I think this was the first time that we saw them, from what I can
so
remember.
yeah, so they played, and yeah, man, it was just same thing. I'm like, this is insane, you know. Like security couldn't do anything. Like
No.
it was just like they don't get paid enough for this shit.
Yeah.
Um, remember, uh, I remember those two bands in specific. I know there were other bands that I watched,
Yeah.
but I just remember those two specifically because they were back to back. It was the same
Yeah.
thing with like Haste Today and then to Parkway Drive, and it was a lot of energy burned out in like a half hour.
I
Um,
remember this was the year we didn't leave those two stages very much. I know that we went over a couple of times. I watched Coheed at the end. That was like the main stage, but that was like towards the end of the night kind of thing. And I remember watching Under Oath, which I think was on the stage that was on the west side, where that was on the concrete, right? So I think
mhm,
that um I remember watching them over there, if I recall. And this I think was the year that Paramore was over there too. And I went and I watched
could be.
Paramore on that side as well. So, but for the most part, we were on those two stages just in front of the grass,
I
which
don't
was
think
awesome.
I don't think I stayed for the entire time I was there in 2007.
I
I think it's
left
one of those things.
during Coheed, I'm pretty
I
sure.
think it was one of those where my mom was like, "I'll come get you around this time." Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you got to be, one of those. But to be honest, I remember. But I remember seeing those two bands, and then I think that was the year where I think it was kind of cloudy, but I don't think it ever got rained out. It was just kind of like overcast back and forth.
I think
And
you're
then
right. It might have been 2008 that was like that because I think the 2008 was this was the one that had set your goals on it, right? And I'm
yeah,
pretty sure it was kind of chilly for set your goals, if I remember.
I can't remember. I remember. So same routine again. Now this time, 2008, I'm going to Warped Tour as like hardcore kid. I got pretty sure I had camo pants on and some sort of tank top or jersey. Who knows?
Okay.
And yeah, same thing. We run. Actually, I didn't even have to pay to get in this time. Now I remember what happened. So we had a friend. We had two friends that walked in. They
Okay.
were holding like a tote, and they just walked in. And we were like, "What the heck?" So they went in. They got bracelets. They came back out, and they gave them to me and my other buddy. And so
Nice.
we didn't pay. And I'm like, "Oh, sweet." So I ended up selling my ticket to somebody else, and then so I had more money in my pocket, and we went about our day. So we got to see the lineup before everybody else, and that's when we started messaging people like, "Get to this stage." And
Okay.
so, yeah, it was Set Your Goals was the first band I remember playing,
The
and they
first
were like,
band,
they were,
11 in the morning.
yeah, I could have swore they were like clear on the other end too of this park. Like it was like clear in the back, all the way to the right, just in the back corner. So I remember it went Set Your Goals. They got done, and then it went A Day to Remember,
Probably.
and then it went Maylene and the Sons of Disaster,
Okay.
and then As They Lay Dying was like four stages on the big stage.
Right.
It was four bands, all boom, 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 and I was just like, I'm done. Like I've got to hang out for a little bit. Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
No, this was the year where it was like running between stages. It's like, do you stay for the last song, the best song from the band, or do you leave to go
Mm-hmm.
catch the first song for the next band kind of thing? And it was this was a hard year. I remember walking in immediately to set your goals, and it was so fun because
Mm-hmm.
we were pretty early in line, right? We got in, we got to the stage, they started playing, and then the crowd came. So
Yep.
it was a lot of running, moshing, doing our thing kind of thing before it packed in, and
Yep.
then set your goals brought a lot of like the hardcore kids over,
Yep.
and it got violent really fast. I
Yep.
remember that. Um, but a couple bands I remember off this, I remember doing exactly what you said. It was like right there. Then it was over to like A Day to Remember. Then it was over. I pretty sure it was Maylene. The Devil Wears Prada got mixed in there because this was the year that they were playing Still Fly. I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure, kind of thing. I remember watching that. But then Every Time I Die was on that West stage again on the
Yep.
concrete, and that one, that Every Time I Die set is still like burned in my mind because that was the first time I saw them,
You know,
and they went off.
2007 might have even been, was Every Time I Die 2008 or 2007?
They're on 2008. Let me check 2007.
I think the other band I remember 2007, I think it was Kill Switch.
Kill Switch was on 2007. Yep.
Okay, I remember them playing specifically. So that was the only time I ever got to see them.
You
And
know, going
Adam D
back
was
and reading some of these like lineups and stuff, I'm so disappointed in some of the bands that like I missed. Right?
right.
2007 had Poison the Well. 2007 had Throwdown on there. They
Hmm.
had Kill Switch on there. I didn't watch Kill Switch. I remember not watching Kill Switch.
Yep. I remember
Um,
watching them play the End of Heartache. It was so good.
there's so
Um,
many bands though.
I
That's just like, what were
Every
we
time I die, I
doing?
think Every Time I Die, I think played 2008. I don't remember if I
It was
watched them or not.
I did. And there was like some hard moshing going on. And this was like when I was like 2007 is when I started to mosh. 2008 is when I was like actively going in pits and stuff. But when Every Time I Die started breaking down, it was the big dudes moshing. And I was like, I'm not touching that. So I stood on the edge and I remember recording them and I had the video forever of wild moshing to
Yep.
Every Time I Die. It was
Um,
awesome.
do you remember? You probably didn't do this. I'm probably the one that did this, but so in 2008 they had like the monster trucks full of like
Okay.
Monster Energy drinks, and because we had these bracelets, we could go in and leave whenever we wanted.
Okay.
I think I drank. I probably lost a couple years of my life this day, but I'm pretty sure I drank 8 or 9 monsters that day, like
That's
regulars.
disgusting. That's
Like,
disgusting.
well, I'm like, hey, I'm getting free Monster Energy drinks. So I got to pay $5 for water. I'm like, I'll figure it out later. But I remember, uh, I can't remember who played right before him, but I remember August Burns Red was getting ready to play. I think maybe 60 Year Guns played right before him. I don't remember.
Okay.
But I remember August Burns Red was getting ready to play. And we were all sitting underneath the, I don't know what you call it. The, what do you call it?
Just like that building thing, that pavilion thing.
Yeah, the pavilion. I wanted to say canopy, but I'm like, that's not the word.
Yeah, no, the
We were all
pavilion.
sitting underneath the pavilion just at the bleachers, and they started playing, and I crashed so hard. I slept through their set under the pavilion.
Oh man.
And then I think after that, I think that's about when I went home.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a wild set too, or just the
Dude.
entire show. It was great.
Yeah. So this year I took my cousin,
Hmm.
and because this was the year that had Katy Perry on it. So he was
Right.
there. He was watching like the Cobra Starships. He was watching the Katy Perrys and stuff like that. But I remember Katy Perry was like one of the last bands of the night kind of thing. And so I went over and I watched Katy Perry with my cousin because that's who I was riding with too. So yeah, I absolutely watched Katy Perry at Warped Tour. Not many people can say that. A
See, that's
lot of
what I
people can
think
say that,
about.
but also not very many can say that.
Well, you like watch her before she actually got t- super famous, right?
Yep. Yep.
It's just weird to think about that. You played Warp Tour.
Exactly.
Interesting. So.
Which cool for her, right? It was a cool thing. But again, dude, I look at this lineup and stuff. They had Evergreen, and again, I'm not exactly sure if these guys were all on the Utah date, but
Hmm.
Evergreen Terrace was on there. Protest the Hero was on there. I I know I didn't see those guys. Um,
Evergreen Terrace didn't play. I think Protest Hero did.
okay. Okay. Well, yeah, I didn't see those guys. I saw a lot of these bands though. It is insane. So going through this list, I saw Every Time I Die. I saw Norma Jean. I saw As I Lay Dying. I saw Devil Wears Prada. I saw. Do you remember Jeffree Star?
Yep. I think that was
I,
2007.
no, it's eight. I'm looking at the flyer. I watched a song from Jeffree Star. That was during the. It was like the midday kind of thing, and I think this was part of when we took a kind of our rest, and Jeffree Star was playing off to the side.
I could
So
I could have sworn he played in 2007 too.
maybe he played in seven, but I remember watching. I don't see Jeffree Star listed on seven, but maybe I don't know. Anyways,
Who knows?
but I remember like looking off to the side and seeing Jeffree Star over there, kind of thing.
I
This was also
remember
during.
I remember
Go ahead.
that just like vividly. Like he was playing and we were just looking at him going, what is going on?
Yeah, this was also the time that the rumors that him and Davey Havoc were dating.
Hmm.
So like, I was kind of paying attention and kind of not paying attention, kind of thing.
Right.
But still going through. Set your goals. Human Abstract. 4 Year Strong. Confide. A Day to Remember, August Burns Red, Stick to Your Guns, Katy Perry. I watched 12 bands, at least, Maylene, 13 bands, at least part of their sets that day.
Right.
13 freaking bands. Like, it was so much. It was awesome. So,
I
all right.
remember going into 2009.
Okay.
So 2008 to 2009 was like a weird year for me. So like I graduated high school in 2008, or like I should
Right.
have, right?
Yeah.
Um, the housing market goes to shit. The job market is falling apart, right? And so when I went to Warp Tour in 2009, I'm pretty sure at that time I don't think I had a job,
Okay.
and I'm pretty sure, yeah, I was just hanging out. I had no plan. I had nothing. So like a lot of my intentions probably around that time was just like, if I whatever, whatever happens
Yeah.
happens. So I remember going to the Warp Tour in 2009, and I think that was the year that we were talking about. I saw Gallows towards the end. This is the year I'm pretty sure Alexis on Fire played. A Day to Remember closed when they released Homesick.
Yep.
Um, I can't even remember some of the earlier bands that played. Like this is how hazy
This
my
was a
memory is.
weird year. Yeah, this one was a weird year. So I remember A Day to Remember. I remember Attack Attack was there. I remember watching them. And then, like you said, Gallows. That was 2009. That pit was insane.
Yeah.
I set my friends on fire. This was a very scene year. Like there wasn't as many of like the super heavy bands. So I set my friends on fire. Chiodos, Dance Gavin Dance was there.
Mhm.
Um,
It was like the
let's
new
see who.
trend. It was like the new trend of bands this year.
Exactly. Seosin was on this one. Scary Kids, Census Fell, Silverstein.
Hmm.
So like the bands that I remember A Day to Remember. I remember Attack Attack. I remember Chiodos. I went and saw those guys. I remember watching I Set My Friends on Fire. I watched Gallows and Scary Kids. I wanted to see those guys again. Um, Devil Wears Prada was on there. But this was a weird year. This wasn't like the year before. It was kind of a letdown after 2008.
Hmm. Yeah, there was just a lot of like newer bands that I don't think had really caught on yet. I remember watching the Devil Wears Prada this year. I do remember that because they played on the stage where the everyone was standing on concrete.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
remember them. I remember watching Anti Flag a little bit. Uh, Gallows, Alexis on Fire. Um, but yeah,
I went and
I just
saw
remember.
Versa emerge on this one. That was cool. That was like the new Paramore, right? So
Right. I'm pretty sure I tried to watch. Man, I don't remember. I agree with that though. I think after last year, just like what we were into and what was going on, this was just kind of a letdown. This was more, I think, of just like a hangout day
Yeah.
than anything. And but yeah, like I mean, it ended really well though, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It ended awesome. I thought 2009 was the year that this story took place, but it was actually 2008. So I'm sitting there. It was right after that Jeffree Star taking the little break or whatever. I was there with Tyler, your brother,
Mhm.
and we're like, we're gonna go watch something. Like, we're not just gonna sit here. So we hopped up and we watched Confide. And I don't remember why everyone didn't come with us. I think it was just taking the break or whatever. But Tyler and I were over there. It was a pretty small crowd. There was a couple people in the pit, but the people in the pit were like very, they were big, but they had like the mascara, the black hair, and all this stuff. And Tyler and I were just like, whatever, we're going to have fun. So we start moshing or whatever. And the biggest guy pushes Tyler. So Tyler kind of gets mad and he goes back, and the next time through, swings back and just clocks the kid right in the side of the head. Well, the kid took issue, picked him up, and threw him on the ground. So Tyler gets up to start fighting and just start getting dominated, right? Couple of kids came over. It got broken up, and security starts taking these kids out, and here Josh comes running, Spartan kicks this kid right into a tent and starts screaming, "No one hits my brother." And the kid's like, "Dude, I'm done." And you're like, "You're not done till I say you're done." And then security's pulling you off and they try to grab you, and there you go, sprinting off, running away as fast as you can. So no, that was my most fond memory of 2008 Warped Tour, was watching all that go down. That was pretty
I
fun.
I don't think it was 2008
I think it was.
because Tyler wouldn't have been old enough.
When else did
Tyler,
Confide play though? I don't think they
Tyler,
played any of the other shows.
I think they played 2009.
They're not on the flyer.
Because
So
2008, I didn't go with my brother.
are you sure Tyler wasn't there?
He would have only been 15. He wouldn't have been able to drive.
Yeah, but he would have just rode with you.
He didn't go with me in 2008 because 2008's the year that I got in for free.
What year would that have been then?
It either had to have been
Was
2000,
it
2010 or 2009.
2000? Let's see. I thought 2009 was like the last year that I went for a few years, but maybe I went in 2010. You know what? It might have been 2010 now that you're saying that, cuz they're on that list too.
Because they had released the record with Joey Sturgis.
Okay.
This is like I think right before Confide finally like was
You know
like,
what?
we're done.
It was 2010, because
2010
the part of the story that I is coming back to right now is you kicked him into the suicide silence tent.
might have happened.
Yeah. I mean, dude, who
You
cares,
know,
right?
you know what's funny is like we tried to reset my brother's nose and like it just wouldn't go back, so he had to like go have it surgically like moved.
Oh, are you serious?
Oh yeah, it was super funny.
Dude, we had one of our friends there with us, and this I love this guy. He was one of my best friends, right? But he really thought that he was going to become a doctor. And I had caught someone and my hand swelled up like a balloon. And he's like, "Dude, you gotta let me check your knuckles." So he's sitting there like rubbing my hands. He's like, "I think you're good. I think it's just gonna be a little bit swollen." I'm like, "Dude, stop holding my hand. We're good." So
You know who
oh
else thought?
man.
You know who else went to school to be a doctor? Chris
Who?
Farley. He went for like 7 years.
Yeah. It doesn't happen for everyone. But that's
Yeah,
crazy.
I
I thought
remember
I
that
didn't go to 2010, but I did.
2000, maybe 2010 was the last year because I remember 2010. I'm pretty sure this is the year Coven Data played because I think I had just gotten back from tour with Co-Vendetta.
Okay.
And so I showed up a little late. I missed their set. Oops. I remember that. But yeah, so I guess I didn't even go with Tyler that time. I had somebody drive me there. I can't remember, but I remember I didn't drive. And then I think I rode home with Tyler. But I think
Okay.
Tyler went on his own with some friends and but yeah. Uh
I was
that
hanging out
year
with Tyler, and I don't remember why it was just me and him, but it was just me and him for some reason when
right.
this all went down. And then a bunch of people, came over and helped out.
What's wild
Uh,
is I don't even really remember who played in 2010.
it's a wild year, dude. It was a good year. But that's crazy because I don't remember a ton of the show either. Every time I die played, I remember watching them. But again, it's like Amir was there, 4 Years Strong was there, Parkway was there again,
Hmm.
Set Your Goals was there again, Suicide was there, um, Confide, who we were into at the time, kind of thing.
I think I remember did the Acacia Strain play?
Uh,
Or is that 2011?
I'm not seeing them on the list. That was probably 11 because I don't remember seeing the Acacia Strain. I probably wouldn't have seen them in 2010, but
I remember there's I think it's 2011 when Set Your Goals and the Acacia Strain played back to back.
oh, really?
And it was the same crowd. So it was very interesting.
You know what that looks like too? It was 2011. Yep, they're even on the flyer together.
Are
So,
they?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember much of 2010, 2011. I remember those two bands playing for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I, I was not there in 11. I was not there in 12. And I might have been there in 13. The next one I remember, though, I was there in 2014.
okay.
So I think I missed 3 years.
I don't think I went 2012. I know we're wrapping up over an hour, but I think in 2013, the Ghost Inside played first.
Okay.
Um, I remember my brother was super pissed because he wasn't like hired on full time yet, and so he was still kind of having to like do things like at work to like get on full time.
Yeah.
And they had like called him an hour before we were supposed to leave, and like to him to go do something, and it was like a Saturday morning. He was like, "No," but like anyway,
He
like
had to.
he had to go do something. So I ended up just driving by myself. Remember, I got down there early, and I think this was the year that I made the fake passes. So
Okay.
this was the first stop of Warp Tour. And I remember like having a bunch of friends be like, "Those are never going to work." And I'm like, "Well, if they don't work, then I buy a ticket. But if they do work,
Right. I'm in for
I'm getting
free.
in." And so I like printed it out on this like nice photo paper back to back. I went to Kinko's and had them laminated, and I got lanyards, and I made four of them. I made one for me, one for my brother, and then two more for two friends. And we just put them on. I'm like, well, we're gonna find out how this goes. I was like, just dress up, just kind of dress like you're supposed to be on tour. It's really it. And so, with it being the first stop, like no one knew what the badges were gonna look like. Like nobody knew anything. And so we, um, I remember we walked in through the side where all the tour buses were, and I just kind of flashed my badge at them, and they didn't stop me, but then they stopped my buddy behind me. I was like, oh, this is it. This is where we get caught. He's like looking at the badge and stuff and all that. And he was like, yeah, we're right here. And I remember looking at my friend. And I was like, he's with me. And we're like, oh, okay. And they just let us walk in. But we got like free food and free water for the day. Because like
Nice.
Warped Tour food was absolutely terrible. There was nowhere in that place you could find any good food. It was all bad. But if you get to the catering side of it, which is what we got that year,
It's
it's
pretty
actually
solid.
not bad. Because you can sit inside the AC building and just have unlimited drinks and eat the food and stuff. But no, other than that, you're paying for an overpriced hot dog, which is like overcooked with like, you know, it's like, well, there's $5 for a monster, it's $8 for a water.
Right.
Like, well, I guess I'll drink a monster. I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I remember the ghost side. Anyway, my point was, he missed the ghost inside. but he could hear them playing in the parking lot. Like that's how soon he had gotten there.
Oh,
And then
really?
yeah, I remember. I think this is when Kyle was finally back from his mission, kind of settled, and was starting to kind of go to shows here and there. So I think
Okay.
that was the year he was there. And then yeah, I remember they played. For Today played. Yellow Card played. That was way cool because I never got to see them. That was a big band we wanted to see.
Yeah.
Um, pretty sure we watched. I'm pretty sure the Devil Wears Prada played.
I mean, they were on most Warped Tours, so
Right.
you'd probably be pretty safe to assume that. I may have been there actually. So I had just been, or let's see, I got married in 2012. So
Yes.
2013, I may have been there in 2013. I know I was there in 2014 though, because I was flipping through videos today and I found a video in 2014 and I sent you a picture of it, but there's a picture in the video you see me coming through the pit.
Hmm.
And I know because I was wearing a lime green bag and I was wearing a gray tank top. I still have the tank top. I still have the bag.
You got your
And
water
so,
set up.
yeah, and here it comes. I come walking through, or I come in through. It was Parkway Drive. Parkway Drive was the opening band in 2014, which was nuts. And here I come rolling through into this giant Parkway pit. But yeah, ton of fun. Dude, there'll never be another festival like it.
No.
As much as people try, there'll never be a festival like it again.
Well, and it was way fun because it was always like such a different mix of bands, but like going to Warped Tour from 2006 all the way to 2017 over the course of 10 years. That's the last one I went to.
Yeah,
That's just over 10 years of many different genres of many different bands that held the high point in that genre.
right, right.
So, yeah, I don't think I went in 2014. At that point, I didn't really have, I think, a whole lot of friends like going, and I was kind of taking different interests. And then I didn't go in 15 or 16, but then 17 was a wild year. So, me being as wild as I am, we got, me and my wife, we weren't married yet. We had bought a dog in like that February.
Yeah,
And then we had bought our house that April. And then we found out that she was pregnant with our first kid.
yeah,
And then we had to move our wedding from October to June. So we did that, and then we did our wedding. We went on our honeymoon. I remember we got back from our honeymoon on that Saturday, and I woke up at like, I think like 12 o'clock. I basically took like a power nap. So we got
yeah.
home at like 9 in the morning. And I woke up and I looked at my wife and I'm like, I'm gonna go to Warp Tour for a while. And I like got up, kicked some shoes on, I got in my car and I just drove down. But I remember I watched Candiria, Sick of It
Okay,
All, Knocked Loose. There might have been one more band, but I remember those three. But Knocked Loose is starting to make it like starting to break into their peak of like what they are now.
sure.
And Sick of It All, I'd never seen them. Now I've seen them twice, but that was a cool band to see. And then Candiria was a band I would never thought I would see ever, just because they don't tour. Um, and all those sets were nuts for their own reasons. But I remember Knocked Loose being super wild because that was like the younger generation's band of like what ours was for Amir, just
Yeah,
being like super crazy,
yeah,
and just going super hard, like having like your ego testing fights and stuff like that. But uh, I remember I watched those three bands, and then I was like, I'm really tired. I'm gonna go home, and I think I was at home by like 5:30.
yeah. Nice.
That's the last Warped Tour I went through. I was like, maybe I am getting too old for this shit. I don't know.
I know. Oh, dude, but it was so fun. I am so looking forward to Furnace Fest. Just the atmosphere, the experience of it again.
Hmm.
I know I'm going to not regret the experience, but regret the pain my body is going to be in after 3 days. It is not going to be fun. But Furnace Fest just dropped their Thursday night pre-show,
Hmm.
and it has Marauder, No Cure, Zao or Zao,
Yep.
and who was Counterparts.
That's an
I'm
interesting.
like, I've seen Counterparts. I've never seen Zayo. I've seen No Cure a bunch or a couple times now, but I've never seen Marauder. I'd like to go see Marauder. So I'm like, maybe I'll because I'm supposed to fly in at like 10:45. I'm like,
Hmm.
maybe I'll change my flight, try to get in at like 5 o'clock and go catch the pre-show. But I'm
Dude,
like, I have 3 days to make it through. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Marauder and Zao would be bucket list bands, I think, to check off, just because you're like, that's an old time band like that has influenced all the music I listen to now, and to hear
Yeah,
them like play, because those bands are limited on how many times they're gonna play again. You know what I mean?
right. Exactly. So I'm debating. I've also spent a ton already. So I'm like,
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm going to go drop another $50 to go see the pre show,
Right.
but
I will
I
say,
might.
on it wasn't the first day we were there. Maybe, yeah, I can't remember what day we played. I think we played Thursday in 2017. This hardcore. Oh yeah, that was the other thing I did. But after Warped Tour, I came home for 2 weeks, and then I went to Philadelphia for a week to go to This Is Hardcore.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But anyway, yeah, I remember I moshed way hard for Ramallah's set pretty much the entire time,
Uh huh.
and yeah, my body had not hurt that bad in a very long time. The next morning, dude, I was dead. I think I slept till 11 or 12 because the
Yeah,
fest didn't start till like 1, But I think after that, now I was kind of picking and choosing. So the next night, it's like Disembodied's playing, and I'm
right.
like, I'm not fit enough for this. There's no way I can't do this. So
Dude, it's going to be cool. It's going to be fun. I expected to talk about this as hardcore with you. I expected to talk about Rainfest with you, but dude, Warp Tour was way too good. It was way too fun. Kyle already has been like, we're redoing this episode so that he can join in talking about it. Cause I mean, we could reminisce about Warp Tour for 3 episodes, right? There's so much to talk about.
Warp Tour was
Um,
Warp Tour was definitely the gateway to be for any genre really to do these festivals. It's not even just like This Is Hardcore. Like I know they
yeah,
have like what is it like? Is it you say it Chocella? Is that what they call it?
Coachella,
Coachella? Chocella? Coachella? I don't know. I don't
Coachella,
know any
it's
of that.
Coachella.
But just festivals like that in general for all different kind of genres where everyone can kind of split. The only thing I will say, the downside to that is that it's not really intermingled and mixed anymore, which is what I really liked about Warp Tour. I can't listen to hardcore forever. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I
Sure.
need to go take like a Nelly Furtado, Katy Perry break, and then I'll come back and I'll watch Harvest or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But now if I want to take a break, I got to leave and like try and not go kill somebody on the sidewalk.
I know. I think I think the festival that's trying to do it as close to Warped Tour as possible is what's the Vegas one?
Vegas.
Uh Emo.
Oh, when we were young.
When we were young. Yeah. That's probably the closest in terms of like mixed bill right now, but they're not bringing like the heavy bands.
Mm-mm.
Like at times Warped Tour got insanely heavy. And then you would have a band like Less Than Jake on there with them.
Well,
And it was just
you know what,
insane.
drives me nuts. What ended after this? But you know what drives me nuts? You paid probably like $500 total for your Furnace Fest tickets.
Yeah, a little more by the time
When
everything's
we were
said and
young,
done.
tickets are probably roughly the same for two,
Yeah.
and you're not even talking about your flights, your lodging, your
Right.
food, all that. So you're going to be in your merch. I guarantee you'll be 2 grand deep before you're done.
Somewhere in there.
Warp Tour went through all the states and it was like 50 freaking bucks when it was done. That was all you had to pay to get in, right?
25, man.
Well, you
I
know what I
paid
mean?
$25 a ticket.
I think towards the end in 2017 it was 50.
Probably.
But 50 bucks versus now every single person, their average price for that is like 2 grand. That's what kind of makes you hesitate. Like, that's where I'm at. I'm like, I could go to Furnace Fest,
Yeah.
but I could also go to Disneyland.
Exactly.
And
It's
like,
a hard decision, right?
I'm trying to ride the Buzz Lightyear ride more than I'm trying to see this band and like hate the dude next to me.
You're like, listen, man, I can put Marauder in my headphones while I'm shooting some Buzz Lightyear aliens. Like,
Absolutely.
we're good.
That's
So,
me. That's me multitasking, getting my fix.
oh man, it's like the ultimate dad move, right? Listen to the heaviest crap you can while just
Well, see,
riding the Peter Pan
it
ride.
brings your eyebrows down. So, like, when you're in line and you're like, hey, the line's moving, you're like, I'm so sorry, sir. You know how many times I've been called sir, by the way, in the last like month? I don't know how I feel about it.
You better tattoo your face. That'll stop it. So,
Nah, I don't have my SoundCloud wrapping up yet.
oh well, it's coming soon enough. So, cool, man. Well, yeah. Again, I'm super curious at like what other people remember about Warp Tour. I'd love to hear some stories. It's always fun. Anyone you talk to in the scene has their Warp Tour story. Message us, tell us. We'd love to hear them all, kind of thing. So, but
And if you're the guy that I hit, you still suck. I'm still not done.
allegedly, right? I don't. Yeah, who knows? He's not going to listen to this. He grew out of his emo phase. He
You
doesn't
had
care if this
enough, or
guy's
you
black.
thirsty for more?
Oh
All
man.
right.
All right, bro. Well, we'll catch you next week.
Yep. Later.
Peace.